Fixing my followers' forms. This is a series that I had on my Instagram, but is now going to be a full-length YouTube video where my followers send me their training footage and I critique their form as a powerlifting coach, but now just in full length. Sorry, I'm in my in-laws' basement, but I think the lighting will be good. I think the sound will be good. So let's hop straight in. Got a coach with a Diet Coke as well. Canned Diet Coke is the worst, but it'll still do. Let's jump right in. So we have got a deadlift from Livo. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but let's get started. Straight away, first thing that I see is, if we go back, you can see that he just kind of throws his head up into that start position. This is a really good start position though. Butt is back, eyes are facing forwards. I would say, let me watch the rest of the lift first. Yeah. Sorry, that Diet Coke is making me burpy, bro. But if we go back, you can see how hips start here. And then once the bar breaks off the ground, they are there. So that is the starting position that you want then. If wherever your hips shoot up to as the bar starts to move is the starting position that you want. So you're just gonna not wedge as low. Right now, you grab and really wedge down, but instead we're just gonna wedge until our hips are at that height that we saw right there. So things that can help with this is right now our grip is out here. You could possibly move it in a little bit, and that's gonna make lockout a touch easier as well. You can see right there, it feels like you really have to emphasize pulling that chest up, but with a closer grip, you might not have to emphasize that as much. And it also looks like it gets kind of stuck on your quads here. If we look at that, yeah, you can see the hips rise, and then that's whenever the struggle starts, and then it's trying to pull that chest up. So maybe moving those hands in a little bit, and then really just focusing on not wedging down as low. I don't mind this like abrupt kind of like super flexed and then go into contraction. I don't mind that. It can throw you off if you're like pulling the bar into you, but it shouldn't be a huge deal. Maybe just get set up in like a position like that to start the deadlift. So you can see back is pretty flat, quads look engaged, this looks engaged, and then maybe move those hands in a little bit more. And then I think you're gonna be in a really solid spot in order to excel at this already. It looks like, I mean, 230 kg deadlift, already something that's pretty decent. So yeah, maybe move the hips up a little bit and then move the hands in. And I think we're looking at some pretty good deadlift form. I mean, already like relatively solid, but that was Levo. So hope I'm saying that name correctly, but let's move on to the next lift. We have got a bench press from Ethan. Let's hop in here. Already right off the bat, something I'm noticing is you do not have a ton of flexion in your spine, which isn't a huge deal. Some people really like a huge arch, other people don't. It's honestly preference, but your shoulders are pinned back, which is nice. Your feet are pressed forwards. These concrete floors or metal floors or whatever you want to call them, any floor that's not like carpet or a non-stick material, you're gonna really struggle on bench press because leg drive is so important. But let's watch. Yeah, I mean, you can see once he sets his glute, this is like almost completely flat here. So I would like to see a little bit more of an arch, and that's more just to limit the range of motion. The way to do an arch is, this looks like a very passive leg drive right here, but you want to think about like fully pushing your toes into your shoe, pushing that as hard as you can, so then you create as much tension in your quads, and that's going to create a bigger arch and then it's also going to create more leg drive. You can experiment with having your feet where they are, or you can move them back here. That's going to create a more aggressive knee angle. It's going to more shoot back there, and then that's going to raise those hips up a little bit, and make it a little bit easier. But we're going to see, I mean, a super solid single. Let's trim this up a little bit. Yeah, you can see butt wants to come up, but it doesn't. So I would just, yeah, experiment with leg drive a little bit more. Play with having your feet where they are and really trying to push your feet that way. You might slide a little bit, get a carpet, get a yoga mat or something. That could help. But other than that, I mean, like, I don't see any shifting or anything that's too crazy. Let's go back to the beginning. No, you can see that you kind of sink in to the bench press. It kind of like sinks you down. You might be, if you look at like where your elbow tracks at, see your elbow starts there and then is over here. So you can try to keep that more in line. But honestly, I think if you add some more aggressive leg drive, think of the tension going through your quads here, and then that's going to create more of an arch. I think you're really looking at a solid bench press here, Ethan. I don't have many tips for that. Maybe the bar slightly rolls forwards as you press your chest. You can see it kind of like dip down, which means your elbow is trying to flare backwards. So just play around with grip width. I can't see where you're gripping at right now. And then, yeah, focus on that leg drive. And I think we're on the way to build an insane bench press if you get those things taken care of. If your shoes are a little slippy, use a yoga mat, use a carpet or something of the sort. And then if your bench mat is really slippery, you have like Bench Bro has an amazing product. You can use those like carpet liner things. You get a couple of different options, but this is a solid bench press from Ethan. Moving on to the next. Up next is Zachary. Let's see. Dude, honestly, a super solid deadlift. Let me try to see what I can find here. So right now, looks like at the top, you're really focused on pushing those hips forwards, pushing that head back, which it's working right now. And then let's see the beginning of the lift. It looks like the bar might be a little bit far away. Like you can see where it starts and then it pulls up, but even that doesn't look bad. Hands are a little close together. Yeah, that one you can see. You can see that shift happen. So you can see the bars there. Is this the second rep? Yeah, and then you see that baby shift of this plate shooting back. That's just an uneven lat thing, or it could have just been a fluke on this one exercise, on this one rep. But it looks like it does happen again. I would be careful using, it looks like you're using figure 8 straps here, and you're like holding it basically in like the fingertips of your hands. That can play around with lockout if you are planning on competing and you use straps like that all the time. You're then going to go in competition. You're going to use like hook grip or mixed grip or whatever. You're going to pull up, and then it's going to be like at your mid quad, and then you're going to be like, dude, it should be locked out by now because you're used to holding the bar in your fingertips, but now that bar, you know, is all the way back here, so it cuts off like a good like inch of range of motion. But truly, I don't see too much here. You can see you throw your head up at the start, like you wedge down, throw your head up. You can try to play around with moving your eyes there at the start, then getting set up, and then you'd finish with your eyes relatively at the same point, which you are right now. So honestly, bro, this is a solid deadlift, and I don't have much for you. Like, it looks like you're doing everything right. It doesn't look like you wedge too low. Yeah, bro, like, I don't really have any tips. So that's a solid deadlift from Zachary. Zachary actually sent 2 lifts, so we're gonna watch his squat as well. Not everyone who sent me like multiple lifts, I did all of them, because most of them, they didn't have any critiques or form checks or anything. They looked like really solid. So this says low back wasn't feeling great during warm-ups, so I decided to say light today. Let's see. Big brace. Yeah, so right here, you can see that he is staying super upright. So this is him at the start of it. And then we go through the lift, and he's basically at that same exact angle. That's something to watch. It's not a huge deal, but sometimes it can make depth a little bit harder, but it looks like your depth is good right now. So I would just experiment with, before you squat, push those hips back a little bit. Play around with trusting your low back, pushing into that, and that's going to make depth a little bit easier. And then bar placement and everything, brace looks fine. Yeah, it looks like you might get a little bit of that like butt wink thing at the bottom here. You can see right there, it kind of winks. And then we'll see on this next one. I think it's worse on the second. And boom, yep. So you can see where the tailbone is no longer flat. It's now curving under you. That might create some low back pain. A better brace can help. And then also just trusting that, pushing those hips back, and then getting your eyes, instead of, right now you're kind of like this squatting. You're just trying to like bend at the knees almost. But what we actually want is you here pushing those hips back, and then your legs being like that. Obviously this is an exaggeration, but then you're going to be able to use more hip flexion than quads. And that's going to really make you use the entire leg during the movement. But other than that, Zachary, good squat, bro. I mean, 405 for 4, like an RPE 7, he says. Yeah, can't complain about that. Good looks, man. Good looks. Up next is a deadlift. Let's check it out. Got the figure 8 straps. Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, that is some major ramping going on. If you competed at USAPL, IPF, USPC, any kind of major federation other than strongman, this would not be allowed. And the ramping happens because, we take it back to the beginning, we can see right there, there's no slack pull at all. So what you want to think about is pulling the slack out of the bar. So if you think about getting like the clicky sound out of the bar, I have a full YouTube video on how to pull slack, how to wedge, everything. Get that clicky sound out, then all the weight isn't going to hit you. Then you pull your hips up, push them back down. That's going to create really long arms. Going to have you push your hips back, and then your hips aren't going to shoot up, and your back isn't going to like round a ton. So if we look at the beginning, you can see hips rise just the tiniest bit, and then got some low back rounding, and that just continues. And then you get here, and this is actually a great position to be in. Your knees, your legs are almost locked out. You can see that they're slightly bent, and then your hips are still pushed back. So all you need to do here is continue locking out those hips, and then push those hips forwards like you're doing a hip thrust. You can see that you're breathing out right now, so you're probably losing a little bit of that core brace. And whenever that happens, that's whenever you just try to pull back. You're thinking of pulling your head back, when in reality you want to think about pulling everything up to the sky, pushing the ground away from you. And we're so close to that because we're in such a good position, you know, like 2 seconds ago. Because right here is amazing position to have a great deadlift, but it looks like you're losing that core brace. You can see that the ribs are now starting to collapse onto themselves. And then that's whenever knees shoot forwards. You're now at this angle where the knees are forwards, hips are back, chest is up. That's you right now. And then that's whenever the ramping happens, because you're just trying to fall backwards into the deadlift instead of focused on driving everything up. So focus on pulling the slack at the beginning of the lift. That's going to give you a better start position. It's not going to throw you forwards like it is. And then focus on driving up. Once you get to your knees, I mean, we're in such a good position. Like, this is such a strong position to be in right here. And then you can just see you lose the core brace, and then you revert back to pushing those knees forwards to try to pull back instead of focusing on just driving everything up. And during the process, it's going to be slow. It's a heavy deadlift. And then you turn into ramping, and then it's still, I mean, like, even minus the ramping, this in USAPL, those soft knees and in IPF are probably going to get called, and that's still not a good deadlift, right? And then, yeah, man, I think focus on the slack pull, focus on the wedge, And then once you get into that strong position, squeeze the crap out of your core, and then just think about pushing the top of your head to the top of the ceiling. You're not pulling back. You think about just keeping everything in the same position and then pulling up. But I mean, we're so close to having an amazing deadlift here. It's just like 1 to 2 steps away, and then we're gonna look at something and be like, wow, that was phenomenal. All right, we got a bench press here. Let's see, it looks like a high school type weight room. Okay. So that's a first fail video. So right here, you can see that you just kind of pick it up. There's not much pinning of the lats. There's like a very passive leg drive here, and then not a huge arch at all. I'm not saying that you need to look like Exorcist, but pinning those shoulders back a little bit more and then really think about driving those toes forwards can really help. You can see that your grip is like very, very close here. I mean, like those are the knurlings and those are your thumbs. You can think about maybe driving your grip maybe like out this way a little bit more. So then you're going to activate more of that chest, less tricep. Chest is going to be stronger than your tricep, nearly 10 out of 10. And you can see that you press. There's no pause, right? This is high school weight room type stuff. Not a huge pause, but you press really low on your chest. The pause button's in the way. But you press in like here on your chest, when in reality, we want to press it like just below like the chest line, maybe on the chest. Some people are built different. Everyone's built different. But no, we just like drop that thing onto our chest, like almost like belly button area, rib area, and then drive up, which isn't a huge deal, but maybe play around with a softer touch on the chest if you're looking at competing in powerlifting. Soft touch, a little bit of a pause, explode up. And then you can see that this is just not a super strong position, right? Our arms are there super close to the bar. Our legs are doing nothing. It looks like our butt might come up a little bit. Yeah, you can see that quad rises. So that usually means that glute's off the bench at that point. So not a huge, strong position here. So think about pulling those feet, pushing into the floor, creating that leg drive, allow tension in those quads. That's going to make your chest and everything be up higher, pinning those lats a little bit more. Think about breaking the bar down. And then we're looking at a much stronger position. But all in all, bro, I think we have potential here to move in a really, really good direction. We've got another bench press. Let's look at it. I'm going to trim this one. All right. No pause there. Honestly, not a whole lot going here. Like, not a whole lot being bad right now. Could do a little bit more leg drive. But other than that, man, it honestly looks pretty solid, right? Like, if you're going to compete in IPF, USAPL, USBC, any big federation, you're going to need to pause your bench press. But, like, it's not awful at all. And it looks like your hands are in a good spot. Yeah, I would just really focus on pushing that, making that leg drive a little bit better. That's going to create more tension here, rise your chest up a little bit. But truly, man, like this isn't a bad bench press. I really don't have any notes, which sucks just because I can't see a lot in this, right? Like, I'm going off of one video here, you know? But, bro, this is, like, really solid. You can see the bar roll in your hand a little bit. See that little bit of a twist up. That can cause some issues as you continue. So you can see, like, right after he touches his chest, those plates start to rotate a little bit. They spin around. And then that's whenever the sticking point happens. But truly, man, I just say keep on working out. Bench like 3 to 4 to 5 times a week. And you're going to be in a good position. Focus on that leg drive. And you're going to be surprised at how quickly your bench press absolutely explodes. We have got AJ's deadlift up next at a federation, at a meet. So it looks like, yeah, USAPL meet. Dude, super solid. Let me trim this a little bit. He does mixed grip. Looks like he has more of a passive slack pull, which means that you kind of pull it a couple times, get the feel, and then on that last you pull up. He doesn't have an aggressive like pull back and then wedge into place. He's a very upright sumo lifter. You can see right here, I mean, he's basically up and down using those big quads. Feet are pointed forwards. He can maybe play around with pointing those feet more out, using more adductor in here to fire and to shoot that deadlift up. But truly, man, I don't have much. Even his eye position is good. Like, we might be able to mess around with putting your eyes, they're right now facing there, maybe putting them more like out here. That's going to get a little bit upper back extension, make those arms a little bit longer, make you be able to pin those lats down a little bit more, and that can make it. But like, bro, I hope that this is an opener attempt, because that flies, dude. Yeah, and then you can see at the top, this is a little bit better. You can see that those feet are facing a little bit more forwards whenever we could put those out. And then that exterior rotation is going to be able to use more adductor and more glute to kind of squeeze everything and then push the ground away from you. Imagine you're like standing on a piece of paper and you're trying to rip the paper without, anything but your feet. So you're trying to pull out and then push that paper apart. But honestly, bro, I don't have like anything. I'm being so nitpicky right now because this is such a solid deadlift. Like, just continue to train, continue to focus on getting stronger, and you're going to be so surprised at what you can accomplish with a deadlift that looks this good, man. I mean, like, slack pull is a little bit different than what I would program to pull slack, but like, who am I? You know what I mean? If it works, and it obviously is, you'd maybe try to experiment with pulling slack first. So pull that slack out of the bar and then wedge down. But honestly, bro, this is super solid, and I don't have much for you. Up next, we've got Greg. Let's check it out. We got a deadlift from Greg. Honestly, bro, that was speedy. I wasn't paying attention because I was grabbing my Diet Coke. Yeah, bro. So, you can see that you do a simultaneous wedge and slack pull. The sledge, you bend down, boom, all at one time. Pull slack, you are pulling slack, wedging all at the same time. And it seems to like work pretty well, honestly. I would watch out on that opposite side grip. It does look a little bit loose. You're kind of just holding it with your fingers. Like the claw grip, you're like, you know what I mean? And that's your thumb. Don't mind my bad illustrations, but you can get it. And the bar's like sitting there. That looks like a number 2. But dude, I wish I had more for you, but just focus on that. Maybe do a separate like pull slack, then wedge. So you're pulling this up, getting that clicky sound out of the plates, and then you're gonna wedge your hips down. But truly, truly it looks super, super good. Excuse me, by the way. And I don't have much for you, bro. Just continue to get stronger, continue to experiment with that. I mean, your eyes are even in a great position, and they stay in the same position the entire lift. You got a little bit of extension up here, which is good. And then look at how you finish, bro. Like, perfectly straight up and down. Strong feet, strong head, good connection with the bar here. It doesn't look like the bar shifts or anything. So truly, bro, just continue to work at it, Greg, and you're going to be very, very excited and proud at what you can accomplish with this. Experiment with pushing the ground away more. Experiment with pulling slack a different way. Experiment with all these different things whenever you're far out from competition, because you never know what might click and what might work for you. And always, always feel free to focus on a little bit of a different thing through a building prep, because the worst that happens is you get stronger in that certain position, and then it's always going to bleed over into the other lifts, or that lift specifically. So keep it up, Greg. Last one of the day, we've got a deadlift in black and white. Let's do it. So looks like a little bit of a slack pull, almost no wedge. You can see that is the starting position, and then that is the finishing position. The hips never change. The hips never drop down. So you want your starting position to probably be a little bit lower. So if we look, that's the lockout. And then you can see a baby wedge here. But I mean, it is nothing. You're starting like there-ish. We want to maybe start just a little bit lower. Push those hips back. Think about driving those legs out as well. And you're going to create, and then that's going to point your foot out that way a little bit more. And then you're going to wedge down. You're going to be able to use more quad in this, because right now it looks like it's a all low back exercise. And you can see that your eyes are kind of face down. I can't see a ton. It looks like your eyes are down the entire lift. So then you pull slack, you wedge, and your face is down the whole time. And then at the top, you kind of look up. So I would say pick a spot that's kind of like out in this area, kind of face forwards. Whenever you face forwards, you're going to get some upper back extension, and you're going to focus on driving your glutes down a little bit more. That's going to bring your hips out more, bring your feet out more, and then you're going to be able to activate more quad in your lift. And then you're going to be able to pull slack more, wedge down, and then pull the bar up using quads, using glutes, using hamstrings to drive that all up, instead of right now it looks like you're using just kind of like low back. And then focus on that lockout as well. Right now you're locking out there, which is not a full lockout, so your shoulders are not back. Your knees look like they're straight up and down. It's hard to tell with black sweatpants and in black and white. Then your eyes are looking down, so try to move your eyes looking more straightforward-ish. Push those shoulders back, really squeeze the crap out of those lats, and then make sure that those knees are nice and locked out. But truly, bro, not a bad deadlift at all. This is 120 for a 3x5, so looking really, really solid. Looks like a double overhand grip too, maybe hook grip, I can't tell from this, but I would just focus on that a little bit as well. Build up that hook grip, and then we're gonna have a strong connection to the bar. We're gonna wedge those hips down, push those toes out a little bit more. That's gonna open everything up and make you be able to like kind of sit into the deadlift, have more spinal, have your spine a little bit straighter, have your eyes forwards, extension here, and that's gonna make you become more upright on that lockout. Focus on squeezing those glutes as well. But brother, super, super solid form, super, super solid forms for the entire video. Good work. All right, that was fixing my followers' forms. If you did enjoy the video, please hit like, hit subscribe, comment, anything that you want to comment. Comment your favorite diet soda. Why not? Mine is a good old DC. And I will see you all in the next video. If you want to be featured on Fixing My Followers Forum, DM me on Instagram or on TikTok, or I don't think you can direct message on YouTube. So, I mean, if you figure that out, do it. And then send me your training footage and I will react to it, and you will be featured on a YouTube video. If I can figure out your name, I will say your name, but most of my Instagram followers have a wild Instagram handles. I'm not going to say that in case I'm saying something that I don't know that I'm saying. But if you want to be featured, just type your name, send over the lift, and you will be featured in the next episode of Fixing My Followers Forum. If you enjoyed, hit like. I cannot wait to see each and every one of you and react to each of your training footages and fix it. If you're interested in coaching, hit the link in my bio and we can get started. And I hope you all have a blessed day. Remember that Jesus loves you. Cheers. Nothing beats a good Diet Coke.